Good afternoon. Happy Monday. All right, are there really happy Mondays? We'll get to that in just a second. I'm Guy Lambert, and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Coming up on the show, the D.C. Council votes on the budget. So what happens now? We'll break it all down for you. A major immigration rally set to take place just outside of the nation's capital. We'll take you there live. And you heard me make mention of Mondays. Yes, there really happens to be Monday morning blues, so much so that doctors say it could affect your health. Wait until we chat about that. All that and more coming up on the show today. But first, how about we chat weather, shall we?
All right.
Tucker Barnes joining us on this back to work, soggy, blue, yucky Monday.
I think for me personally, Sunday scaries are worse than the actual work day.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about getting up.
Then you're up and you just go, right?
Yeah.
You're going hard, whatever you're doing, you're going hard. But Sunday you have time to think about it.
Yeah, that's
like
so true.
all that's in front of you for the week.
And don't mix alcohol with it. Woof, that makes it even worse.
Right? Well, I mean, depends what alcohol it is, but yeah.
I'll take the hard stuff.
Yeah. Once football season starts,
There
that
we go.
distracts you till the end of the day.
You are so correct.
All right, let's do our Mondays. Guess what? We got, unfortunately, a weather pattern that does not want to give us a break. And pretty much since the 4th of July, every single day we've had the same forecast. Clouds build, we get afternoon showers and thunderstorms. It's incredibly sticky out there.
Yeah.
You notice the stickiness level?
Ugh, yeah, it's yucky.
Yeah, it feels like South Florida. I don't go to Florida all the time, but
I do.
you do. So
Yeah.
you know what it feels like, right? Feels like this. Tell me I'm right.
You're right, sir.
Okay. Midday temperatures, we got clouds building, 82 degrees. If I have any good news in the forecast for you going forward, it will not hit 90 today. It'll be in the mid to upper 80s.
Wow,
so
that's good.
Temperature-wise, we won't be too bad. But again, with all that humidity, Guy, our heat index, and you mix the heat and humidity, it feels like upper 90s. So lots of water. You'll be sweating in a hurry. We're, for the most part, dry at this hour. A couple of showers fading across the bay. And notice out to the west, we've got a line of showers and thunderstorms starting to get going. Sam?
Yep.
Thank you for playing. And that is a cold front. If it were October, I would say, you're not going to believe it. Once that front gets through here, the winds are going to pick up and a cool breeze is going to set in. Not this one. This one is going to fall apart. Okay? It's just going to get in here and it's going to lay down and bow its head and say, I'm done.
Okay.
Run out of gas. So for us, that means a great setup for a lot of rain later this afternoon, but no relief on the way.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. So there's a big front, and again, it'll kind of fall apart across the area, but let's call it 3 to 8 p.m., a pretty good window for showers and thunderstorms. And I want to emphasize, yesterday and Saturday, it wasn't everybody, but those parts of the area that got the heavy raining thunderstorms, they got 2 or 3 inches in a short period of time. We had a lot of flash flood warnings yesterday, including places like Ellicott City. So it's not going to take a lot to kick off another round of flooding for parts of the area. Not everybody in green is going to get a flash flood warning today, but somebody will. And just a heads up there will be likely some flooding conditions for parts of the area later this afternoon. So, you know, you're on the Beltway at 5 o'clock and the rain's coming down. Just look out. There could be some ponding or rivers or creeks that are near your house that have been swelling up the last couple days. It doesn't take a lot to start to cause more issues there. Be ready for it, as this forecast going forward will continue to feature showers and thunderstorms each afternoon. There's the next couple days. It will get a little warmer for the end of the week and maybe a little drier by Thursday, Friday.
Hey, just be on the safe side and take your umbrella with you. You'll be good to go, right?
Yes, and watch the forecast carefully if we have flood warnings later.
Okay, good stuff. Tucker Barnes with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so yet, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take that forecast with you any and everywhere you go. Well, just minutes ago, President Trump met with the NATO chief. While speaking with the press, the president announced that America will impose secondary tariffs at 100% if they have not reached a deal with Russia within 50 days. Meanwhile, the European Union now suspending its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Members of the group are hoping to reach a trade deal with the Trump administration by the end of the month. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Timothy Allen Simon, political strategist, back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend. Happy Monday.
Good to see you, Guy. Happy Monday to you.
And it's been a busy Monday at that. Let's start with a major announcement by President Trump regarding Russia. The president saying America will now impose secondary tariffs at 100% if they do not have a deal within a matter of 50 days. But wait, there's more. The president also stating that the U.S. will provide Ukraine with more weapons and that Ukraine will pay 100% for those weapons as well. Your response to that, sir?
Well, this is something that President Trump campaigned on, that being that NATO would spend 5%, the NATO nations, of its GDP on defense. So what is the transaction that's taking place? And yes, President Trump is very transactional, is that the United States will be selling arms to NATO that will in turn grant them to Ukraine, whether that's by way of purchase or some type of military aid. That detail I'm not specifically aware of. But NATO General Secretary Rutte, I hope I pronounced that correctly, was in the Oval Office this morning. It was a very extensive discussion where the president gave his views on Vladimir Putin, Russia, Ukraine, and the entire scenario. He also spoke about other conflicts around the world. So I think this is being seen as a major step in trying to levelize the Russian-Ukrainian war. On the other end, the president is also threatening additional sanctions against Russia, and by the way, 25 other trading partners. The question here is, will the taco dilemma arise? That being Trump always chickens out, which is the Wall Street term, where the tariffs become more of a threat than actually an imposition. And it is having very chaotic effects on trade alliances to the degree that certain nations are now trying to trade around the United States to avoid the chaotic volatility.
Well, Timothy, to your point, we know that the president has been somewhat wishy-washy, if you will, surrounding all things pertaining to Ukraine. He has never said that Ukraine needs to win this war. That's something perhaps Ukraine needs to hear, is it not?
It is, and he's also blamed the war on Ukraine, even though Russia invaded Ukraine. First off, it's important to understand that the conflict and the cultural interconnection between Russia and Ukraine go back to the days of the Russian Empire. This is nothing new, as are many conflicts around the globe. Clearly, the president in his early days showed a preference towards Russia. As you recall, in the 2016 campaign, there were questions of him soliciting Russia into our presidential politics, particularly in regards to Hillary Clinton. So this relationship between President Trump and Russia, Vladimir Putin's efforts to try to recreate a Soviet Union, and how America will position itself under the Trump administration's belief of isolationism is an ongoing saga, for lack of a better term.
All right, well, the saga continues, and that's what we say right here on the LZ. We also know that the European Union is suspending its tariffs on U.S. goods. The action now being taken after President Trump sent a letter announcing new tariffs of 30% on goods from the EU and Mexico beginning August 1st. What's it going to take in order to get this done, Timothy?
I think it's a Trump tactic as part of a larger scale scheme in his transactional mentality. It is his belief and the administration's belief that these tariffs are bringing revenue into the United States. Critics are saying that we, the consumers, ultimately pay them. The European Union and other nations complain that they cannot have a consistent trade policy with the way the tariffs are happening in such rapid fashion. So I do think at some point, either by way of the World Trade Organization and or the United Nations, we will probably see some type of or at least an effort for a multilateral trade deal that can provide some type of stability in the trading markets.
Let's get ready to throw down, perhaps something you would normally hear at a UFC fight. In this case, we're talking about what's happening on Capitol Hill among Republicans. This time, it's over Doe's spending cuts for foreign aid and public broadcasting that risks the wrath of President Trump if they fail. Now, we know that the president himself is applying pressure to his party and even dangling the threat of withholding his endorsement to those on the fence about supporting what would be another major win. You think the president will do just that?
Well, no doubt that he will try to primary or run candidates against those who in the Republican Party who do not align with his position, whether it's on this rescission bill or the fact that there will be major cuts in red areas, particularly rural hospitals and Medicaid cuts. And then again, foreign aid, which has really been the carrot of the United States. The term is the carrot and the stick. but the foreign aid that has made it possible for the United States, in many cases, to have access to certain markets for our goods and services. This is all boiling into the Trump doctrine. It's no longer really the Republican Party. I would say that it is the party of Trump. And those that do not align with Trump suffer the ramifications or consequences of a president with enormous popularity, even though there has been fissures based on certain recent developments that I'm sure you and others in the news industry are aware of.
Sure. You just made mention of those who lean to the right. In this case, we'll end, Timothy, with those who are leaning to the left. Specifically, former President Barack Obama. We know that he called Democrats to action, if you will, at a private fundraiser in New Jersey on Friday, urging those frustrated by the state of the country under President Trump to stand up for things that they think are right. In essence, the former president saying that, well, Democrats need to toughen up.
I couldn't agree more with the former president, the former two-time president, I should add, who created a culture of activism and audacity and belief and hope as a underdog candidate. And I've made this reference before. In the parliamentary system, it's referred to the opposition party. In our republic or Democratic Republic system, it's the minority party. But the Democratic Party needs to act more like an opposition party and meet the Republicans wherever they are, and putting forth that opposition, which many called under the Obama administration obstructionism, that the Republicans were engaged in. The Democrats are simply going to have to get tougher to ensure the American people that they can trust them to protect the democracy as well as the individual equal protection and First Amendment and other Civil War Amendment rights, which I should mention were largely directed towards the formerly enslaved. The nation is looking for the Democratic Party. The world is looking to the Democratic Party to do a better job in taking on Republicans.
Timothy Allen Simon, political strategist, yet again joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend. Make it a great Monday.
Thank you. Great seeing you as well, guys.
All right, guys, let's take you now to the White House, the state dining room, if you will, where any minute President Trump will host more than 60 business leaders and CEOs who donate to faith-based charities. When that happens, we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. Well, Congress is set to vote on cryptocurrency policy this week, specifically whether or not the House will approve a Senate bill to create new rules for stablecoins, another cryptocurrency. The so-called Genius Act would mark the first time the federal government has gotten involved into whether or not they'll regulate stablecoins. To discuss this and so much more, we welcome John Iannucci, founder of ILG Private Wealth. John, good to see you, sir. Happy Monday to you.
Nice to see you, Guy. Thank you.
All right, so let's jump right into this. For those that are like me and are saying, okay, I'm trying to figure all of this out with regard to stablecoins, do tell. Can you elaborate, sir?
Sure. So for my clients who aren't familiar with cryptocurrency, what I like to try and tell them is cryptocurrency is kind of like the way they use their credit card to make purchases online. They'll use a digital account, their credit card account, so they'll put that into a system to be able to make a payment. Cryptocurrency is another form of digital or electronic payment. The innovative nature of stablecoin is that for the first time, now when cryptocurrency is issued, it will actually have reserves backing the value of that stable coin. For every dollar of cryptocurrency issued, it will have a reserve worth or valued at $1.
Wow, great information and a great way to describe it and put it in layman's terms, if you will. We now know that Congress, yet again, entertaining this idea. And when we think of that, we know that Congress is really trying to do certain things. Those certain things involve what surrounding the legislation, sir?
So great question, because I think it's really important to know that there are really two things that Congress is trying to accomplish. One, bring stability to cryptocurrency, make sure that we avoid this wild volatility that we've seen with Bitcoin. So they want to regulate it and make sure that they bring stability to that digital market. The second thing that they haven't spoken so much about is they want to be able to track transactions. And as you might have guessed, the reason behind tracking transactions is they want to be able to tax those transactions. The Internal Revenue Service has been pushing for this type of legislation so that transactions can be tracked and ultimately taxed.
How do you see stablecoins being used should this become law?
I think initially what we'll see is that large companies will use stablecoin to effectuate transactions, the payment of large transactions. The advantage of stablecoin is it's so much faster than a traditional cash transaction where currency has to be deposited and transferred and verified through electronic means. Stablecoin will make that process much faster. So ultimately, I think it will be used primarily by commercial transactions.
Yeah, well, John, it's no secret, perhaps in some cases you are not necessarily a fan of all of this. And what I mean is that from an investment standpoint, and with that being said, I'm curious, why would you not recommend for folks to do just that?
Well, you know, it's not that I'm opposed. I'm almost like the legislation. I'm benign. I'm neither opposed or for. It depends on your individual circumstances. If you're in retirement, my concern is that even with this new legislation, that cryptocurrency will remain somewhat volatile. And as you might guess, volatility is not the friend of somebody who's actually in retirement and needs those investments to support the retirement. Now, if you're more than 5 years outside of retirement, you've got more than 5 or 10 years before you intend to retire, cryptocurrency might be a very interesting portion of your high-risk investments.
So, John, we'll end with this, and that is, what would you recommend to those who are looking perhaps to get involved in crypto based on this bill, and yet again are still somewhat concerned?
Really great question. It's caution. Caution is definitely the watchword. Do your research. I think you'll see that gradually this market will become more and more usable by the average investor. But in the beginning, there are still way too many kinks to be worked out, too many issues that won't be resolved by this legislation. So do your research, get a professional involved so that they can explain the risk associated with an investment in cryptocurrency.
And that's why we have folks like you to make it oh so much easier. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. John Iannucci, founder of ILG Private Wealth, kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sir.
Thank you, Guy.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Republic of Vietnam and the American soldiers who fought side by side for the ideals of freedom and democracy. 250,000 members of the South Vietnamese Armed Forces and more than 58,000 members of the United States Armed Forces gave their lives for these ideals. As the first Vietnamese American to represent Orange County's Little Saigon community in Congress, I am humbled by the responsibility to carry this history forward. I am proud to introduce a congressional resolution to honor this day and ensure that our history can never be rewritten. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise today to honor the life and legacy of Vernon Jumper. After moving to Los Angeles with his family, Vern enlisted in the Navy in San Diego in 1951. Mr. Jumper became part of the air wing of the USS Midway and conducted about 100 combat missions in Vietnam beginning in the mid-1960s. Vern was instrumental in saving over 3,000 Americans and South Vietnamese refugees as air boss of the USS Midway during Operation Frequent Wind. He oversaw all flight operations on deck and within a 5-mile radius of the ship, guiding evacuations, helicopters onto the aircraft carrier's deck as Saigon fell in April of 1975.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, earlier today, D.C.'s U.S. Representative Dr. Oye Owalewa joined progressive leaders for a rally on the steps of the Wilson Building. While there, he spoke on the importance of making the budget more fair for working-class people. He now joins us on the Live Zone. Sir, always good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's been a busy Monday for you, and not only that, but you happen to be one of D.C.'s only, to my understanding, elected healthcare worker and licensed pharmacist. Now, you were seeking to, if you will, preserve D.C. Healthcare Alliance for the working class, rental assistance for those most in need. As you put it, don't trump the budget. Do tell.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me here. Last week, me and a bunch of other progressive leaders and community servants came out to talk to council, tell them we want a fairer budget. You know, we're talking about lower income working class people losing their health insurance. We're talking about pharmacies closing east of the river. We wanted to see a much more balanced budget that cares for all of DC residents.
But, sir, you're also looking to, in essence, protect seniors and lifelong Washingtonians, participating in, well, a rally earlier today to really improve the quality of life in D.C. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. We were out there on the steps of the Wilson Building. Some of us are still inside the council chambers watching some of these votes because we're seeing seniors being concerned about whether they'll be able to live with dignity in their homes or in housing without being threatened with eviction. So we want to see ERAP fulfilled and protected. We want to see our TOPA rights, which allow folks who are renters first chance to purchase a building. More importantly, be able to have a say on who owns a building and the quality of the living conditions while renting.
All right, we'll switch gears here. In this case, we'll make reference of Initiative 3, the 1979 ballot measure that laid the groundwork for D.C. statehood. Now, through D.C. residents, or rather, though D.C. residents have voted, drafted constitutions, and reaffirmed their support across decades, well, we all know the deal. Congress has yet to act. You hope to bring more awareness to that.
Absolutely. This week marks that 46-year anniversary where D.C. residents took that first step in supporting our own home rule and self-governance. We're talking about having our own constitution where we'll be able to change the way we legislate and really have firm control over our legislative process. And this comes at a time where we have a President Trump who's threatening to take over D.C. We have a Congress that has unfortunately repealed some of our laws, and we just want the same thing that our friends in Maryland, Virginia, and beyond have. So we are marching forward. We are celebrating our past, but we're also honoring it by continuing that fight today.
Yet again, we have been speaking with Dr. Oye Owalewa, kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Sir, truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Yet again, we are awaiting President Trump to take part in the faith-based luncheon. It will take place in the state dining room at the White House. When that happens, we'll take you there live. We'll take a quick break. On the flip side of this break, Annie Mae joins us. It's our Monday Talkers next on the Live Zone.
Gentlelady yields. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Cutter, for 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I rise today with a heavy heart. On May 8th, 2016, God sent an angel to this earth. He blessed my extended family in Dallas, Texas, with a beautiful little girl, Janie, who lit up this world with her infectious smile, her compassion, and love for everyone who was lucky enough to meet her. As my daughter-in-law's niece, I was one of those lucky people who got to know and love Janie Hunt. Being from the South and part of a close-knit family, we have a tradition of gathering for Low Country Bowls. I got to know Janie at these large family events, which she loved, enjoying good food with her many cousins who adored her. Janie loved life, and she loved people. She loved school. She loved telling jokes. She loved church and learning about her Christian heritage and faith. She demonstrated a keen intellect and mastered many disciplines beyond her years. She was adventurous, kind, and charitable. She never wanted anyone to feel left out and was always thinking of how to make people laugh. Knowing this about Janie, you can imagine her excitement when she learned that she would get to go to Camp Mystic this summer for the very first time, along with 5 of her cousins, for a summer of fun, faith, and family.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, time for our Monday Talkers with our friend, your friend. Well, she's everybody's friend. Annie Mae joining us.
I am? Wow, that was so nice.
Yeah, hey, friend.
I need you to come up with something new every time you introduce me. You need to hit it like an A+ every time.
All right, and then
I'm
you're going to put a
now.
montage together.
Yes,
and
I'm
then
going to put it all together, and I'm going to be like, this is my time here, Fox 5. Just being welcomed.
Well, I can tell you what we don't welcome, Annie Mae, and that happens to be Mondays.
Yes.
Is it just me, or do they downright suck?
They always suck.
Yeah.
To everyone. I don't care what you're doing, they always do.
Yeah, well, apparently we're not alone. According to a newly released study, Mondays that we dread, well, it's a real thing, and it could be doing more damage than we actually think. Apparently, those who feel anxious on Mondays have 23% higher levels of stress built up in their body compared to those who reported anxiety on other days. To make matters worse, many of us feel uncertainty, danger, or dread. And even when you retire, if you think about Mondays while retired, guess what? You still get stressed out.
Yeah, why do I feel like Tuesday's a sleeper though?
Oh my gosh.
Tuesday's a sleeper, man.
Yeah.
Like Tuesday will smack you. Monday you like you come along on no sleep on Monday, you're like, oh okay, like it's fine, I'll get through the day. Tuesday, the lack of sleep from Monday in addition to the Tuesday, that'll smack you too.
I find my Tuesday afternoons, as soon as I get off, I go home and I crash.
And
it's just like, I'm done.
Yeah. I don't know, about Mondays, like my latest thing has been basically to just try to get through Mondays with like keeping my head down, like not trying to do too much. Like, because I think when you think about it like that, it's like the start of a marathon, right? Your Monday is your beginning of the marathon. You're not running too fast. Friday, you're like, that's the end of your race. You're like, wow, woohoo, and like the slow-mo. But like Monday, you can't be doing too much on Monday.
Yeah.
You hit your stride like come Wednesday. Thursday, you're chilling. Thursdays are fun. Friday, you're at the finish line.
Okay, so what about Sundays? Because I now find that on Sundays, I'm like, slow it down, guy, because I got to get up for Monday.
Sunday is like my regroup day.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about Sundays is I try to wake up at like a decent hour. And by decent hour, I mean I sleep in, but I'm not sleeping in too much. So like around like 9:45, 10 is like where I'm like sleeping in, because keep in mind, I wake up at 4 every morning.
Oh,
so I need to get like a good chunk of sleep. But I want to make it to my workout class like 10:15. So I'm up at like 9:45. So then I go to my workout class, I like clean, I cook and prep for the week. That's what I use Sunday for. And then Monday's a lot easier when you prep on Sunday.
Oh gosh, it is so much more easier. I just can't wait for this day to be over yet again. So we're not alone. I'm pretty sure you at home are like, I can't wait for it to be over as well. Hey, so when it comes to bathrooms, public bathrooms, that is, a lot of times they're, well, let's just put it and keep it real, downright dirty, right?
Nasty.
Yeah, especially at the airport. However, would you believe there happens to be an item that's dirtier than a toilet?
Your shoes.
Very close. In this case, the wheels to your suitcase, believe it or not.
Oh my God, yeah.
A Liberty study found that it is 58 times dirtier than a public toilet seat. Nasty. But wait, there's more. Apparently, a lot of times, folks will actually carry them through the airport, go into the bathroom, and then when they get to their hotel, what do they do with that suitcase, Annie Mae?
Put it right
They
on
put
that
it
bed.
right on that bed.
I've never done that.
I have.
You're insane. No, they have those little things that you put them on.
That is so true.
Whatever that's called,
But
use
I have
that.
to take it out of the closet. I'm lazy. Then I have to open it up.
I will never put it on the bed. I won't put anything on the bed but my clean clothes that I'm setting out for the next day. But I'm not one of those weird people that's like, oh, my outdoor clothes. I
am.
On the bed.
See, I'm different.
And you put your suitcase?
Well, I'm just learning this. It's new.
It's either or.
Okay.
It's either or.
All right, I get it. Gosh.
I need you to fix that up. I need you to fix that up for me.
But that outside, and I know we're at strength, but that outside clothing, that's serious. I don't know where your body has been prior to you sitting on my bed. So.
Yes, but where have your wheels been?
In the bathroom.
Clearly dirtier than the bathroom.
Be.
I don't believe that.
Really?
I don't believe that. I feel like the bathroom is the nastiest place.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Well, I mean, I could see
maybe
that.
Your shoes, things that touch the ground.
Yeah.
That was my first thought process.
That's why you have to take your shoes off when you come into the home, so that way you don't track
I do that
whatever.
too, for the most part. Yeah, I have my indoor shoes, my little Uggs that I walk around in.
Yeah. So, folks, with your traveling with your suitcase, make sure you don't actually put it on your bed like I do.
Don't do what he
Guilty
does.
as charged.
Don't do it.
We'll wrap up with this, and that is, you made mention of working out earlier, and I'm really curious to get your take on this. It's a 36-year-old woman out of British, the UK, if you will.
That was not good.
Okay, I tried. It's Monday. Thanks.
You'd be like, hello. I can't even say that because my boyfriend's English, so I can't even say that.
I was about to say good day, mate, but that's Australian.
That's Australian. We'll work on it for you.
Well, apparently, she's saying, you know what? I'm a little confused and perplexed. Why? Because she says that at her gym, there's a new rule that women aged 12 to 24, or girls, females in this case, have a designated workout time from 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's the only time in which they're recommended to show up and work out. Why? Because, well, this gym wants to make sure they have a dedicated, comfortable space during peak after school and early evening hours for ladies who are constantly bombarded by guys that are trying to talk to them while they're working out. What do you think about this?
I don't hate the idea of this. that there's like a designated like time slot that like you can that basically will be like people are like monitoring you.
Yeah.
I don't. Do I think it's necessary? No.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I don't think it's necessary, but I like that they're like trying to help out with an issue that a lot of people have at public gyms.
Yeah.
I've never had that issue, but I can also stand up for myself, so I'm not.
Yeah.
Guy's not worried about me.
Well, I could tell you as a guy, and not me, but a lot of my friends are like, "Oh my God, I got to go to the gym. Why are you working out?" No, I'm trying to meet girls. I'm like, that's not where you're supposed to do that.
Exactly. And so it's like, I mean, I get it, but I feel like some people just like, there are some people that just like don't get it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, if I have my earphones in, like I don't want to be talked to. Like if I'm in between sets, like I don't want to be talked to. I think that's kind of where people, but it's nothing that's like, I don't know. It's nothing that's like too much where I can't handle myself. I'm like, okay, thanks. Nice. You know what I always hit them with? I always hit them, oh, it was so nice to talk to you. That's like my buzzword. Where I'm like, oh, it was really nice seeing you. So nice to talk to you. Like, and then people get the picture for the most part.
In other words, go kick rocks.
Go kick rocks. For the most part, it works. Like, oh, so nice seeing you.
Yeah. So you're kind of like ending it without really ending it.
I just gave up my secret. Now people are going to know.
Yeah.
I just use it. It works every time. People know the social cues behind that. It's like, all right.
In that case, it was
or hit them with the all right. Like,
okay.
Hey.
All right, Annie Mae.
All right.
That's it.
Like,
we're done.
Get out. Okay.
Annie Mae joining us with our Monday Talkers right here on the Live Zone. We'll be right back.
All right.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Yet again, we are awaiting President Trump to start the faith-based luncheon. This is taking place at the State Dining Room inside the White House, obviously, in which the president will host more than 60 business leaders and CEOs. Once again, when that gets started, we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. In the meantime, let's have a little fun, shall we? Sizzling topics with producer Chris. Happy Monday, my friend.
Happy Monday. I spent all last week talking about Superman before it came out. Now that it's Monday, it's officially in theaters, we have to talk about how it did. And we're going to start off with what is probably a huge sigh of relief for director James Gunn, and he's also the co-chair, the co-CEO of DC Studios. That huge sigh of relief because the movie, a hit. It made $122 million domestically in its debut weekend. Now that's only third best this year. A Minecraft movie and Lilo and Stitch both made more, but huge numbers and just more to come, hopefully, for the Man of Steel.
I am excited about this. You have seen the movie. I'm going to see it today at 3 o'clock when I get off.
Compare notes.
We'll do just that. All right, well, Producer Chris with a very brief version of Sizzling Topics. Yet again, as promised, we'll take you back to the White House, where President Trump now hosting a faith-based luncheon. Let's go ahead and take a listen in.
What a nice sound that is, isn't it? What a nice. Please sit down. Hi, Scott. So I always said that if I ever became president, I would play that all the time, no matter where I went in the building. But I've never really gotten to do it. I wanted it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's so beautiful. And pardon me for being late. We had a great meeting with NATO, the Secretary General, and we're going to do something a little different for this country. We're going to supply weapons to NATO at a large amount. They're going to deliver the weapons, and they're going to pay for 100% of the weapons. So, a little different. A little different. Hi, John. So we're really, that's a big thing. And we thought we had 4 deals, Howard, right, with Putin. Somehow they end, and we get off the phone. Oh, that was a very nice conversation. And then he sends missiles into buildings someplace. I said, what was that all about? So anyway, so we're going to be doing that with NATO, and it's fully approved, fully done. We'll send them a lot of weapons of all kinds, and they're going to deliver those weapons immediately to the site of the war, different sites of the war, and they're going to pay for 100% of them. This all was made possible by going from 2 to 5% a month ago when I went there. So, yeah. And those countries, those European countries, and I said, look, we have an ocean. It's not fair that we did, because under the Biden administration, we paid about 3.5 times more than they did. We were in for $350 billion. Got nothing for it. We were in for $350, and they were in for $100. So, which really meant one thing, because you have great business leaders here. It meant very simply that they were better negotiators than our president was. But so this is a very important thing, and hopefully that will come to an end at the end of 50 days. If we don't have a deal, then we're going to have to do. We have no choice but to do secondary tariffs. You call it secondary tariffs, which are pretty tough. Which we don't want to have to do, but let's see what happens. But we thought we had a deal. Numerous times I'd get home, I'd say, First Lady, I had the most wonderful talk with Vladimir. I think we're finished. And then I'll turn on the television, or she'll say to me one time, wow, that's strange, because they just bombed a nursing home. I said, what? So we don't like that. But I want to thank you all for being here, and welcome to the first ever White House Summit of Faith and Business Leaders. You're really some of the greatest business leaders in the country. When I looked at some of the names, I said, whoa, that's big stuff we have here today. In fact, before I was president, I would have been very intimidated, but now I'm president, so I don't have to be. But today we celebrate the core values that built this country: and freedom, hard work, risk-taking, and above all, trust in Almighty God. You're very much into God in this room, and that's very nice. You're business leaders who believe strongly. We have some business leaders that don't believe strongly, and somehow you and I don't like them as much. But I want to thank Pastor Paula White. She's been my friend for a long time. And John, for convening this incredible group. You know, her husband's one of the most talented musicians in the world. Stand up, John. Stand up. Okay? I stole a couple of his songs for the rallies, and he never sued me, so I was very happy. But we all come from the same place, right? So it was great, and we appreciate it, John. Thanks as well to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who's doing a fantastic job. He goes on television and he calms the market. I go on television, I rile the market, and I say, we better send him in there, Howard, right? And the market's become so calm and nice. So you're doing a good job, Scott. Thank you very much. You make any deals today? We got a lot of them, boy, I tell you, we have. But the best deal is just sending out the paper. You know, they keep saying, well, he hasn't made the deal. Well, we made a number of deals, but why isn't he doing deals? Because the paper is better than any deal we can make. Do you understand? The people in this, Kevin, they asked you that question this morning. You were great this morning, but they said, well, when is he going to start making deals? The next time we could say, just no, every time he sends out a document that you have to pay 35% or 25% or 50%, or in one case, 100%. Those deals, you can't beat those deals, but we're still willing to talk. And they all, literally every country wants to make a deal. We're in a good position. You would call it a position of strength. I don't talk that way because I'm a politician now, unfortunately. And I don't want to talk about strength. I just want to say we have to be treated fairly because we were ripped off on trade and the military for, you know, we protected other nations. Nobody paid us. Nobody did anything for us. Nobody helped us. And that's much different. You know, NATO is a much different situation now. When I got in, I believe we were paying for 100% of NATO. And now they're paying, they went from 2%, but they were paying 1% to 5% that they're paying. That's a big difference. It's about $1 trillion difference. And they're wealthy, for the most part, wealthy countries. And some of them they're among the most powerful, among the wealthiest countries in the world. So they're going to start paying, and they want to pay. And we had a great meeting about 1 month ago. That set the stage for what happened here, but it's very important. So I want to thank Scott for being here. I want to thank Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. You are doing a good job, Howard. Am I right when I say I really don't want deals? I just want the paper to get sent? Right? It's true. I don't know if this is on television. Yeah, it's always on television. SBA administrator and a great person, cabinet member, a friend of mine for a long time, Kelly Loeffler. Kelly, you're doing great. She's small business, right? She only does small business, but when you add it all up, it's the biggest bank in the world by a factor of about 10, right? She's doing a great job. And director of the White House Faith Office, Jenny Korn, who's also amazing. Thanks, Jenny. From the earliest days of our republic, the steady compass of faith has guided the strong hands of American workers, builders, and entrepreneurs like really no other. Our country was founded by pilgrims and believers, and every generation since, Americans of faith have built our communities and forged new industries and enriched our country by millions and millions of people and ways. John D. Rockefeller, J.C. Penney, Charles Goodyear, Truett Cathy, and frankly, we have people I could name right in this room sitting here that their names are every bit as big as that. They were inspired by their love of God, and now the proud tradition continues with all of you. And this group reminds us, as a nation that prays is a nation that prospers. And you see that. I think one of the reasons we went so bad is they really wanted to take God and religion out of your lives. And there was nobody to, look up to. There was just nobody. It was, we were freewheeling, and we can't freewheel. Now we have to bring religion back into the country, and we're starting to do that, I think, at a very high level, Paula, a very, very high level. You see churches are starting to fill up again. Under the Trump administration, America is prospering and America is winning like never before. Our country is back. So I was in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and then a month ago we were in Europe with all of the NATO countries, European countries, and plus Canada. And almost everyone said almost the exact same words. They said, 1 year ago, your country was dead. Terrible term, but that's what it is. Your country was dead. We thought it was finished. And now you've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. Is the hottest country. Did you see they found $25 billion of essentially profits last night? They said, where did it come from? It came from management, but it came from tariffs. and it came from, you know, good business skill. And I've always made money. Now I'm making it for you people. I've had good days and bad days, but in good days and bad days, I always found a way to make money, and we have to do that for our country. But and we did 188 billion in Scott just now, 188 billion in tariffs, 188, and we haven't even started yet. That's only for cars and steel. We actually have barely started. The economy is roaring, business confidence is soaring, incomes are up, prices are down, and inflation is dead. It's dead. We have a bad Fed chairman, really bad. If he would lower the rates, and I tried being nice to the guy, it doesn't help. He's like a knucklehead. No, he's a knucklehead. A stupid guy. He really is. You know, each point, think of this, each point costs us $360 billion. Billion. 1 point, $360 billion. 2 points, you got $700 billion. And we're way high. We're at 450 or 425, 450. And how do you go borrow money at 1% when the Fed has you at 450? And, you know, it's not that easy. I get angry at them. Why are we paying so much? You know, because he's got you up at this number. And we should always be the lowest. Now that we're doing great, we have no inflation. Think of it. Our stock market hit record highs. Everything's hitting a record high. We're really running good with no inflation. And we should be at 1%. We should be less than 1%. I think Switzerland is the lowest at like 0.5%. We should be lower because without us, there's no world. I don't want to sound overly aggressive, but without us, you have no world. And we put our country on solid footing. We had a man as president who was the worst administration, worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he's the worst ever. What he did at our border can never be forgotten. 25 million people allowed to pour into our country, all unchecked, unvetted, murderers, gang leaders, gangsters, people that you don't want in our country under any means, terrorists. We have many terrorists in our country, and we're watching them close. Tom Homan, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job. Christine Noem is doing a phenomenal job. We had last week, it was reported, nobody, not one, even I don't know if I believe that number, but it's done, the numbers are done by liberals. So they said, did you know that? They said we had nobody, zero, crossed our border. It's the first time that ever happened. Zero. Did you hear that? It's like crazy. But we have people from mental institutions, insane asylums even. That's a mental institution on steroids, essentially. But we had people coming into our country. We can't have them. And we have to get them out. But we can never forgive this administration, this past. And I'm okay with administrations. I mean, I can go through a Democrat administration, say, hey, look, they worked hard, they tried hard. But the things that they did to this country, we can never, ever forget it. From the rigged elections to the border, to the transgender for everybody, from men playing in women's sport. Do you ever take a look at some of these records? There was a long-distance race, a marathon, where they had a great female runner, a number of them, but they had one in particular, and they had just an average male runner who had transitioned. He won the race at the end of the day by 5 hours and 14 minutes. They waited for 5 hours. The weightlifting records are better, though. The weightlifting records are better. You know, the way they took a record that hasn't been broken for 18 years. 18 years. And, you know, they'd add a quarter of an ounce on each side of the barbell. And they'd just, a little tiny piece of stuff. She'd go up and she couldn't get it up. And this guy comes along. Have you lifted before? Yes, at a low level. He was a low-level lifter as a man, but transitioned. And he goes up to that thing. Bing, 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 bing. Could have done it all day long. Broke the record by 119 pounds. The whole thing is crazy. The swimming records are pretty good, too. You got to see that. I told the story. You had this great group of young ladies, and they grew up with each other because, they sort of swam at the top level. And they were swimming, and one girl was seriously injured. She looked left, and she saw the same girl she grew up with, Kelly, in California. Same girls, that young age, they sort of rise to the top. She looked to the right, she saw the same girls, but there was this giant standing right next to her. And he had transitioned. You probably heard this. He had transitioned. And she'd never seen her before. And when the race was started, he blew by her so fast that she suffered massive windburn. They had to take her. And he got out of the race, and he went and had a little lunch, and then he came back and watched the rest of the young ladies finish up. The whole thing is crazy, and it's so demeaning to women. It's so demeaning to women. But it is what it is. But what they did to this country, and we ended all of that, as you probably know. We ended the woke. The woke stuff is no longer in favor. But we're doing fantastically. Wages for blue-collar workers have surged by the most in over 60 years. Gas prices have reached the lowest level in 5 decades. Actually, we're going to see some really good numbers. We're, drill, baby, drill. I got to make sure that people can afford to produce the gas. But the gas has gone to the lowest level in decades. And you're seeing $1.99, $1.98, and I saw $1.95 at certain states. Not California, because every time it goes down, they add taxes onto it. You're at $6, $7. They just add taxes. All they do is they keep adding taxes. Terrible governor, doesn't know what he's doing. He may be a candidate, but if you go by success, you can't have him be a candidate. And on Friday, it was announced that the United States Treasury ran a budget surplus. Is that true, Scott? In June, for the first time in many, many decades. Wow. I didn't know that. That's a good one, too. I'm going to have to put that in my repertoire, Scott. But the biggest victory of all came 10 days ago when I signed the one big, beautiful bill into law. Right? And just as I promised, we did something that was amazing. Everybody was against it. I wanted it. I know Scott and Howard liked the idea of it too, but it was very risky because they've never done anything like it in terms of the size. It's the biggest bill ever passed, of its kind ever passed, by far. And they were going to cut it into 2, 3, or even as many as 7 bills. And I said, the problem is that in the one big bill, everybody gets something. When you cut it into 7s, there are 4 or 5 of them, or 3 of them, right, Kevin, that you get nothing. All they're going to do is fight it. You'll never get them passed. And so we went with it. I was on a show called Deface the Nation. Have you heard of it? They're so bad. They're so bad. These people, they're so average. But I was on this show, Deface the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, President Donald J. Trump on Deface the Nation. No, but they're all so bad. But we were on the show, and she said to me a question. She said, what would you call this bill? Would you want to have it called One Big Beautiful, or would you rather see it? I said, what I want is one great, big, beautiful bill. And Speaker Mike Johnson, John Thune, they were watching, and they said, what a great name for the bill. We actually ended up calling it that. Huh? We took the great out. I actually liked it even better. One great, big, beautiful. But they said, let's a little bit of a low key. But we got to pass. But we got to pass because there's something for everybody. And there are things that people don't like, but you need them for the country. You have to do some things that are great for the country, but they wouldn't necessarily get the votes. And we got the votes. Think of it, not one Democrat vote. All the goodies that we got, not one Democrat voted in either the Senate or the House. And we're talking about tax cuts and business. So many different things that are so good, right? Not one Democrat vote went with us, not one. So we had to get almost every, in the House we got 218 to 2. Think of that, 218 to 2. Nobody could do that. It's never been done. And that says, you know, and we have Rand Paul Jr., who's a guy from, we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he always votes no, a guy named Massey. Always votes no. We had another guy who I helped very, very strongly, helped him with a very personal situation, got him through it. And he voted no. I said, thank you very much, I appreciate it. And then we went to the Senate, and you had, of course, Rand Paul, who always votes no. They call him Just Say No. I think they think it's, no, I think they and you know, I got him elected. I had to go to Kentucky twice to do rallies to get him elected twice. But they forget, a lot of politicians forget. And then we had a couple of others, Susan Collins, she's another one, Just Say No. She always, brutal. And we had some people, Tillis, I guess, was a no, right? He was a no. And they said he was brave. He said no to the president, but he resigned the following morning. So anyway, that was terrible, I thought. But we couldn't lose more than 3. And we had 3 that said no. And so we won that 50 to 3. So it's pretty close. And a senator came over to me and said, I can't believe you won the House. Great guy, this senator, Eric Schmidt, who's doing a great job. He said, I can't believe you won the House. I said, actually, so remember 218 to 2, we needed 3, so we could have lost 3. We actually only lost 2. I said, no, actually, the Senate was tougher than the House of the 2. That question is asked to me, who was tougher? I'd say the Senate was tougher, actually, amazingly. Shouldn't have been. We had a slightly bigger margin in the Senate proportionally, but it was brutal. It was, they said, sir, we have 12 hard no's. You know, a hard no is not recoverable, right? This was at 2:30 in the morning. Mike Johnson called up. It could be 20, but it's at least 12. So could you call them, sir? And I said, what time? I said, 2:30 in the morning. And we have to win, right? We can never give up. The people in this room, right? You never gave up. My supporter right from day one, and her husband with a bad damn back, right? How's his back? Is he okay? Every time I see him, he's got a bad back, but he's got a lot of cash, so. A lot. He's got a lot of cash. But no, they're great people. Thank you very much. I do appreciate you. You were there right at the beginning, you know, always was there. But we have, so we have a situation where we call up these people at 2:30 in the morning, and I called up. I got along with them all great. I liked them, but they're tough. You know, they're congressmen. When you're a congressman for 20 years or you're a senator for years, you're smart, and you're a survivor because you go through all sorts of hell. But I called up Congressman. I said, Jim, hi, Jim, how are you doing? And he said, fine, sir. I said, family's good, yeah. He said, sir, you have my vote. I never said what I was calling about. I said, I do, thank you very much. But how do you know what I'm calling you about? Well, he said, sir, I've been your friend for 2.5 years. You've never called me during normal hours. So I assume that if you're calling me at 2:30 in the morning, you're not calling me to ask me how's the family doing. I said, yeah. So, pretty good. So I called up everyone. I think everyone with the exception of one had to speak a little bit, but I call up, sir, you have my vote. Thank you. Sir, you have my vote. Think of that. And we got 12 votes in a matter of, I called back 20 minutes later. I said, you got all the votes. That's spirit, right? That's spirit. They wanted to maybe hear. They wanted to have a little love. You know, the sad part is that some of the best people are the people that don't get any publicity because they go with something because it's good. So a guy like some of the people I'm talking about, but some of the people where you didn't even have to call, they vote yes, 100%. You don't have to waste any time with them. You don't have to beg them, come on, you can do it, come on, let's have lunch, let's have dinner. And then you have other guys that want you to suffer. I mean, some of these people that I just mentioned, whose names I just mentioned, you got to go through hell. And the ones that are really good, and they love the country, and they're doing right. I mean, what's the alternative? You know, the alternative here, you're getting the biggest tax cut in history, and with the Democrats, you're going to have the biggest tax increase in history. Now, we could go into 100 other details. They're equally as crazy. So I said, so what's the difference? So you're going to say no, and you're going to have the biggest tax cut in history this way, and you're going to have the biggest tax increase the other way, and you'll probably end up in a depression, because if you ever did that, it would be a shock to the whole world. That's what happened in 1929. I said, so you're going to vote for the other side? Well, sir, I'll do what's really appropriate. You know, the losers. But you have that. Really, they're grandstanders. You know, you have grandstanders, and you have them in every business. And the Democrat has far fewer. They're grandstanders. But, you know, the one thing about them, they have bad policy. They're evil people in many ways, but they stick together. You don't have it where you don't have, I don't want to use too many names, but you don't have a Mitt Romney in the midst who makes you suffer. You don't have some of the people that I mentioned who make it so hard. They make it so hard. And the alternative is one of two things. You can either get all these things and make the economy strong, or you're going to literally have perhaps a depression where you people so rich, so beautiful, so nice to look at, will be totally busted. And let's see how long your wife stays with you. You're beautiful. She'll stay with you for about 3 weeks, and she'll say, darling, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, darling. I'm leaving you. I said to one guy, he's a very, very unattractive man, but he's smart, and he's rich. And I said, you better hope we get this thing passed, because your wife will be gone within about 2 minutes. He said, you're right. But so we had a tremendous success, and it gives you the biggest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, and the largest border security investment of all time. And again, we're doing great on the border. I almost say, why do we need it? We have such good numbers, but you need it. Ultimately, you're going to need it. I built hundreds of miles of border wall. Without that, you could have never had the results that we had. But to lift up the American family, we increased the child tax credit and made school permanent. We made it all permanent, the school choice. And we expanded school choice. And for every newborn child, we created what's called the Trump accounts. And this was Michael Dell. I don't know if Michael Dell's here, but Michael Dell, well, you tell him I mentioned his name, because it's true. He would call me for 3-4 years. I didn't know Michael. I just know he's a great success story and a great guy. That's all he talked about, was the account where you put $1,000, and as a baby is born, $1,000 into an account, and you let it be invested by, I guess you pick out some good money determinant or fund or index. And I guess at a certain age, like when they're 30, goes earlier than that, but when they're 30, they're supposed to have like $75,000. That would have a huge impact on their lives. And it could even be more than that. So that passed. And, you know, it's funny, that was one of the easiest things we had to get passed. Can you believe it? I thought so many people loved it. They actually call it the Trump accounts. And I didn't fight for that name, right? I didn't fight for that. I said, that's a very great honor. But Michael Dell was amazing. That's what he said he's going to invest billions of dollars doing it for children. He's going to put a lot of his money into it. But even more importantly than the economic success, we're restoring the spirit of our country. America is once again an optimistic nation. We were so down. It was depressing. We were so down. That's why I ran again. I got cheated. They rigged the election. But I said, you know, if I didn't think I won, I would have never run. Because that's like a poll, right? You lose, you lose. It's worse than a poll. But I saw the lack of spirit in this country for 4 years. It was a dark, horrible place. And for people of religion who were arresting your pastors, they were arresting if you went to church and you had a service outside. And the reason outside, because you had the COVID. And you could go outside. They'd arrest everybody for even having the service. I'll tell you, religion took a big hit because of the way they treated all of us. And we now have a confident nation, an optimistic nation, and we have one nation under God, and we'll always keep that term. And we're bringing back, very importantly, and not just evangelicals or Protestants or all religions, we're bringing them back into our country. As president, I've ended the radical left war on faith, and we're once again protecting religious freedom like never before in our country. We're protecting it like never before. We're getting rid of the Johnson Amendment that didn't let the pastors and ministers and everybody speak about politics. Now you're able to speak about politics, Paula. You can say, I don't like that guy, and they don't take away your tax-exempt status. You know, they take away tax-exempt. And I'll tell you, remember when that started? It was at the meeting room before I ran, 2015, a year before the election. And I was with 50 faith leaders. They were great, very well-known people, mostly Protestant, but you had rabbis. You had an imam, 2 imams, and we were talking. And I said, I'd love to have your endorsement. And they looked at me like, what? I'd love to have your endorsement. We have such respect for you, and you control it, really very powerful. And they looked at me, they didn't say anything. Do you remember that? And I said, what's wrong with these people? I didn't know about the Johnson Amendment. Don't forget, I never did this stuff before. It wasn't like I ran. I was on the other side. I was on the same side as you. You write contributions to people that you like. But I never ran, so I didn't know about the Johnson Amendment. And I called Paula and Jenny aside. I said, could I ask you, when I said I'd want your, support, your political support and endorsement, they looked at me very weird. What's going on? Well, sir, there's a thing called the Johnson Amendment. And if they even speak about anything having to do with politics, they will immediately take away their tax-exempt status. And if they lose the tax-exempt status in your world, that means you might as well close up your church. I said, you got to be kidding. So I can't really. And I told them, we had another meeting a couple of months later, and I said, you people in theory are the most powerful people. You're more powerful than man or woman because we have more than 50. Let's assume men and women are 50-50, but you have 80% between all the different religions. I said, you have more power than anybody, but you're not allowed to use your power. I said, we're going to get rid of that because people want to hear what you have to say more than anybody else, pretty much. And we did get rid of it, and we launched something that's great. And now you see people, if they like somebody, they're able to talk about that somebody for office, right, Jenny? We're able to talk about a certain politician that has your values and likes your religion. It's okay. And we got rid of that. Was Lyndon Johnson, a very powerful guy. And he had a problem with a pastor, I think in Houston. And the pastor was not a fan of his, and he put the clamps on the guy. He really did. Amazing, actually. And we opened it up. I looked at him, and we're up 68 stories in the air at Trump Tower, and at this beautiful conference room. I look down, I see people walking up and down the street. I said, that means that person walking up and down the street, any one of them have more power than you do because you're not allowed to even talk about it. You were even afraid to talk about it, but they're not afraid any longer, and I think they appreciate it. As president, I've ended the radical left war on faith, and we're once again protecting religious freedom instead of destroying it. And God is once again welcomed back into our public square. It's very important. And I stopped the Biden administration's persecutions of Christians and pro-life activists. They would put people in jail if they even uttered the word. And, well, look at me. I mean, look what happened to me. I was under investigation more than the late, great Alphonse Capone. Think of it. Al Capone would kill people for dinner. If he left the room and he didn't like them, he'd have them shot, killed, buried under a building someplace as part of the foundation of a building. They're all over the place. And I said I had more time under investigation than the legendary Alphonse Capone or probably anybody else. But I had a lot of good people with me, and most importantly, I had the base with me at a level that it actually became stronger. The one thing I did that was very helpful, I was indicted 5 times. Think of that. Indicted. That wasn't a word that was in my father's looking down, my mother's looking down. That my son's not supposed to be indicted, I think. I got indicted 5 times, impeached 2 times. All bullshit, right? All terrible stuff. And I got impeached for making a perfect phone call. Good luck. Congratulations. I had a guy come up to me, a secretary of energy from before. Sir, could you call up, of all people, President Zelensky? And I called him. I actually held off. He must have come 10 times. Please, sir. It's because they wanted to do business or something, oil and gas. Who the hell knows what they wanted? You can imagine what they wanted. But they wanted, would you call up President Zelensky? And I did. When I finally got him, I said, congratulations on your win. He had just won. This is early in the process. Should have never been, that war should have never taken place, by the way. If the election weren't rigged, that war would never be happening right now. Millions of people being killed. That war would never be happening. But would you call up? So I say, hello, President. How are we doing? Everything good? Good. Congratulations on your big victory. Wonderful job. Great, great, great. Hang up. That's it. I get indicted for making a phone call. I told that secretary, who wasn't the smartest bulb, he wasn't Rick Perry. You don't want him on your debate team. Let me put it that way. Rick, you're not going to be on my debate team, Rick. But he's the one that asked me to do it, Rick Perry. And I said, thanks, Rick. That was a wonderful suggestion. I just got indicted over your stupid call. This is what we have to put up with, right? This is what we have to do. We have to put up with things. But it's been an amazing period of time, and we've straightened out so many bad things in this country. I created a Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty and established a Department of Justice task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias, because you have a very big anti-Christian bias that you don't think about and you don't hear about it. I established the White House Faith Office to defend and represent people of all faiths, and it's located in the White House. You've never had an office. You've never had that. And Jenny and Paul are there all the time, but we have it in the White House, so people can call up and complain, or they can call up and say, you're doing a great job, whatever. But we have it actually in the White House. Nobody's ever done that. We've restored the fundamental principle that God created two genders, male and female. That was a tough one. And we're defending parents' rights, where the parents' rights have been taken away from them in schools. You look at some of these school boards, it's like they're brutal dictatorships, and we brought it all back. The parents have the control now, and last Monday, we effectively eliminated the infamous, as I said, Johnson Amendment, such a big deal, and various other amendments and things that really took away your free speech. That's what they've done. They've taken away free speech. I also want to recognize the incredible contribution of our great First Lady, Melania, and she says hello. And Melania did the Be Best initiative in supporting children in our foster care system. She visits a lot of children, a lot. Yesterday we went to the game, the soccer game. I don't know if you saw it in the Meadowlands. It was incredible. And she's always thinking about the children that have a hard time, in helping America's young people reach their fullest potential. And it's remarkable to think that it was only 1 year ago this week that my time on earth nearly ended. And if you look at that, God was with me, because that's something that, in theory, I should not be with you today. Well, I believe that, and I believe it, that my life was saved by God to really make America great again. I really believe that. I think I have a son. He's a great shooter, like a championship shooter. Don and Eric was a great shooter, both of them. But they said that at that distance with that gun, you didn't have a chance. And we turned the head at the right time, didn't we? Huh? We turned the head at the right time. So, I don't know, some people say it was lucky, and some people say something else. I say something else. I think God helped us. So I always believed in giving back to this nation, a nation that we love so much, and I know that everyone lives by that same sacred principle. The people in this room do, I can tell you. I hate when I see complainers, people that complain and they don't do anything about it. Like, in many cases, the media, not all of the media. I must have had something because we won in a landslide. Think of it, we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the popular vote. We won there's a district vote that's very interesting. It's where the whole map is Looks red for a Republican, by the way. But the whole map came out, I think it was 2,750 to 505. Think of that. That's broken into little districts, little areas. We had an unbelievable election, and so I don't know, somebody said, yeah, how do you win without the press? But we have a hidden press, and the real hidden press and the hidden vote is the people and the word of mouth. Word of mouth is more important than the press, and they see what we do and they see how we do it. I want to thank all of you and your great communities, and it's a blessing to our country that you're here, and a blessing to our country that you become so successful and so great. And people look up to you, have no idea. You don't know. We take things for granted. You don't know. The people in this room are amazing. I even, looking at that list, I really said, that's something great. And you're all believers. I think, Paula, you wouldn't have invited people that were, not a lot of, is there an atheist in the room? Any atheists? I don't think so. I wouldn't want to raise my hand if I were. I'd be in big trouble. No, you invited all people that are outstanding in faith and success, and it's a very noble group. But it's because of the patriotism and goodwill of citizens like you that America remains strong and faithful and free. And together we're going to continue the fight for Judeo-Christian values of our founding fathers. We'll grow our economy, we'll defend our sovereignty, we'll protect our children. When you look at the job we did, I was just thinking, because President Putin said it to me and other leaders said it to me, when they looked at those B-2s go in, and think of it, they flew for 37 hours straight. We had 52 tankers, the gasoline tankers, and they rode along with them at different aspects, and they refueled, and not a screw was broken, not a mark was on those planes. Every engine was perfect. When they landed, they were just as good as when they took off. Think of that, 37 hours and about 40 minutes through a very rough territory. And those machines worked incredibly well, and literally not a problem. And when I honored the flyers, we did it last week, I also honored the mechanics, the people that took care of those machines. And I said it's equally important. And you compare that, same country, you compare that with what happened with Jimmy Carter. It was a sad situation. The helicopters were coming down and they were crashing, and the men were all over the place trying to get the hell out of there. And it turned out to be a hostage situation, and horrible thing. And probably it was one of the things that cost him the election, certainly. But when you think of that and you see this was, in terms of perfection, they think it was a perfect military. We sent the planes to Guam. Everybody thought we were flying to Guam. And they said, oh, they're going to Guam. Well, Guam's out of the way. At the same time, we had some others go in a different direction. I watched horrible CNN. You have to watch sometimes your opposition, and they are opposition. And I saw that they had basically the plans of when we're going in, when we would be entering Iranian oil airspace. And I said, that's weird. And I called the general, Raisin Kane, he's fantastic. I said, General, and Pete Hegseth, I said, I'm watching newscasts where they're saying what time you're taking off tomorrow and what time we're going to be entering the very dangerous airspace, the worst air space anywhere there is, anywhere that in the world. I said, what do you think? Sir, we'll be fine. We blow them away, we'll be fine. Because they went those B-2s with 7, and they were surrounded by a lot of great planes. F-22s, the most beautiful plane ever built. The fighter jet, F-35s, had a lot of different planes going with them. I said, but wouldn't a surprise be better? Yeah, it would be better. I said, well, then let me cancel it, and let's make it at a different time. So the day before, I canceled it. I said, I'm canceling it. We'll do it sometime within the next 2, maybe 3 weeks, but I'm canceling it. And then I had a meeting, and I said, I have an idea, because I got slightly big coverage, to put it mildly. So everyone knew it was being canceled. I said, let's leave at the exact same time we were supposed to leave, the following day. And we took off, and that's when the planes went out to Guam and this and that, and we took off. And that was the only time. And they said it. That was the only time they knew we wouldn't be coming in, was the exact same time that I came. I said, let's do something. And they flew in, and they were stealth, incredible planes. They were stealth. And they hit every bomb, hit their mark. Every single bomb hit the mark. It was unbelievable how they did it. And then they said, skedaddle. Skedaddle means get the hell out of there. They had to get out of that airspace. But it was an amazing thing, and I think it was so great for our country in so many different ways. You know, you see so many incompetent people, like the way we left Afghanistan with Milley and all these incompetent, stupid people. And Biden, I mean, it was him. Leave everything behind. We'll leave jets behind. I said to Milley, I said, so you mean to tell me, because I was going to leave. We would have left earlier than them, but we were going to leave with dignity and strength. I said to Milley, you mean you want to leave a jet fighter behind? Sure, it's cheaper if we do that. I said, wait a minute, give me a tank of gas and I'll fly it to Pakistan, or I'll fly it to someplace, or I'll fly it back home. Why is it cheaper? Oh, it's just cheaper. That's when I realized the guy was grossly incompetent, okay? He's telling me it's cheaper to leave a plane than it is that the planes cost $150 million apiece. Let's leave it, sir. It's just great. And they did. They left all, you know, I was taking everything, but they left it behind. But when you look at what happened and compare that to what we have now, we have a real great machine. I rebuilt the military in my first term, and we left some of it to Afghanistan and the Taliban, and they have their parades. I hate those parades. Every year they have a parade wheeling down our equipment on some very unattractive street. That's, you know, their Fifth Avenue. They show our equipment going down. Just it's getting older and older, but I hate to see it. But we're going to be working together to protect our children, and with the grace of God and the blessing of Providence, we will lead our country to heights that it's never seen before. I think we're going to be more successful in many ways, but I think we're going to be more successful than we've ever been. And I do think this, if we didn't catch it, if we would have lost this election, our country was finished. I think it was, we were run by incompetent people. We were run by an auto pen that nobody knows who used it. I think it's one of the biggest scandals in the history of our country. We were run by an auto pen. Nobody has any idea who used it, including Biden. He doesn't know. He saw that interview yesterday. He knew nothing. So it's a very terrible. We're against an evil group of people, and they're very smart, very smart. He's not, but they are. They took over the Oval Office. They actually took over the Oval Office. We can never let a thing like that happen again. So, Paul, I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank Jenny, and most importantly, I want to thank the people in this room. You really are incredible people, an inspiration to our country. And I know you don't know that. You don't think it because you're too busy working. But you are. You're a great inspiration to young people that want to be just like you when they grow up. And thank you very much for being here. And it's a great honor. And, Paul, I think you're going to say a prayer. I'll stay with you while you say your prayer, okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. You guys may be seated for just a moment. And he is our greatest champion of faith of any president that the United States of America has ever had. We are deeply grateful for that. We are very honored that you are all here with us at the White House, and where faith is not sidelined, but has a seat at the table. And as we gather today as leaders of industry, of vision, of faith, I believe that today is going to be very enlightened, and I'm so overwhelmed. We're getting ready to worship and pray, and to just think that prayer, worship, and doing good works is welcome back into the White House. President Trump is a historic and a bold move established the White House Faith Office to recognize some simple truths: that America is strongest when faith is engaged and not silenced, when believers are activated and they are not isolated. This administration understands that people who are of faith, who are entrusted with wealth and influence as you are essential to building a stronger, freer, and a more compassionate nation. You're more than just CEOs and business leaders and entrepreneurs. You're stewards on divine assignment, builders of legacy, and vessels of impact. You've been called by God to his kingdom for such a time as this. And together we are witnessing something absolutely remarkable. More has been accomplished by this administration in the past 5 months than in the last several decades. And that is due to the leadership of President Trump, his administration, and the great team he has assembled. America's spiritual and moral foundations have been restored, and it's only the beginning. Today's not just a luncheon. It is a moment of divine alignment, a commissioning. And we believe that God is raising up business leaders who don't separate faith from enterprise, but who see their platforms and their pulpits as their businesses and instruments for eternal impact. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you with great reverence and expectation. Your word declares in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" Lord, we do perceive it. We see the stirring of your hands, reviving hearts, reforming systems, raising up leaders at this very hour. We thank you for our great president, President Trump, for his life, his courage, his clarity, and unwavering defense of faith and freedom. May your wisdom guide him and your protection always surround him, according to your word that does not return void. In Psalm 89:21, that you say, "My hand will sustain him, and surely my arm will strengthen him." We bless every person in this room, those you've entrusted this wealth, strategy, and vision to, according to 1 Timothy 6. That you tell us, do not put our hope in riches, but be rich in good works, generous and ready to share. So they are your Josephs in Egypt, the wise stewards in famine. They are your Daniels in Babylon, the uncompromising voice, and your Lydia in Philippi, the ones who expanded the kingdom. Let this be more than a meeting. Let it be a movement where we come together and converge to bless communities, care for others, and reach nations, empowered by your purpose and your grace. Unite us with the common cause to use our time and talent. For thy kingdom come, thy will be done in the earth as it is in heaven. In the mighty matchless name of Jesus, we pray these things and come in agreement. Bless this food and bless everyone. And everybody said, amen. And by the way, it is Secretary Howard Lutnick's birthday, so I'll wish him a very happy birthday. We are so grateful for your time, President, and my husband John's going to worship. At any time that you have to go, we know that you have spent more than enough time, and you are running the country exceptionally for us, and we are all so grateful. So he will stay as long as possible, but will you let President know how much we love and appreciate him?
All right, there you have it. President Trump hosting more than 60 business leaders and CEOs at the White House who donate to faith-based charities. While speaking to the crowd, the president made mention of, well, not being happy with the Fed chairman. Also stated that gas prices are down under his leadership and touted his one big beautiful bill. The president also making mention of the attempted assassination on his life, saying his life was saved by God to make America great again. Yet again, that luncheon will continue for the next hour or so. Well, as much as Donald Trump and his administration would like people to move on from Jeffrey Epstein, the fixation with the convicted sex offender and accused sex trafficker just won't seem to go away, especially among the president's own base. Several of the president's supporters have expressed outrage over his, quote, lack of concern for the Epstein victims. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Dante Mills, attorney and political strategist back here on the Live Zone. Dante, always good to see you. Thank you so much, sir, for being patient.
No problem, Guy. Good to see you as well.
All right, so a lot of folks are talking about this. We know that the Justice Department released a memo earlier this month that asserted a much anticipated client list, if you will, did not exist. And, well, there would be no more disclosures as well. That has, in essence, enraged a lot of folks who are saying this is a bunch of hogwash. What say you, sir?
Well, I agree. And part of it is the administration's own doing because they made promises. Pam Bondi said that the list was on her desk and that it would be releasing soon. So to turn around and do an about face and say in fact, no list exists, so everybody stop talking about this and move on, is very, very problematic because we don't have that check and balance where there's a realistic belief that President Trump was in this orbit. It may not have been directly involved, but even if he has some kind of connection, that may give the administration a reason to want to just shut this all down so that he's not in any kind of shadow or circle because of this. But who that hurts are the victims. You have someone, Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years for facilitating child trafficking. But who was doing it? Who were the people who were taking advantage sexually of these children that she was facilitating? There has to be someone. She wasn't setting all of this up for no one. So the fact that you're going to say we're no longer interested in that, we have these children who were victims, but we're going to turn our blind eye and allow that to be okay, that shouldn't happen in our system. We're supposed to protect the victims, and especially children victims in this country, and people who would prey on them should be targeted, and the law should come after them. But because there's this sense of maybe Donald Trump was kind of involved or in a circle, now we're being told that all of this is over and nothing is going to happen moving forward. And I just don't think that should be the case.
You made mention of Ms. Maxwell. We know that she has signaled that she would, in essence, be willing to testify before Congress regarding the part she played in facilitating sex trafficking. In essence, is this a way for her to get a get-out-of-jail-free card?
Maybe. And a lot of times, listen, some of my criminal, the people I represent in criminal cases, they do keep lists or they're looking at it and saying, listen, I have a get out of jail free card. I have this ace in the hole because I know who was involved. But it's interesting that she hasn't been green lighted to give that testimony. And why? There, again, are victims in this case who should be at the forefront, and we should be making sure that the people involved in this are put away so they are not involved in taking advantage of children again. That's the most important thing I can say about this. We have to make sure that the people involved are not able to take advantage of children again, and saying we're going to let this go by the wayside, we're not going to prosecute this, is allowing them to do that, especially when you have someone who's sitting in jail for 20 years who's willing to come forward and say, hey, here's what was happening. Especially they'll do it for some benefit, but it will shine light on who the players were, and that's who the focus should be on.
Yet again, we've been speaking with Dante Mills, political strategist and attorney, kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good to see you. Have a good day.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Time now for a little Celebrity Dish Monday style. In that case, we're joined by none other than Life with Lindsay back here on the LZ. Thanks for being patient, Lindsay. Always good to see you.
Absolutely. It's good to see you on a Monday. I know there's crazy things going in the world and you got to cover them, so I get it.
Well, that's why we have you as well, because you are also kind and also patient and love having you on. Let's jump right into it. In this case, we're talking all things Beyonce. Hey, I went to the Cowboy Carter tour and got a chance to check her out right here in D.C. You know who I didn't see, Lindsay?
Who?
Jay-Z. And I'm a little upset about that. Apparently, I'm not the only one, because down in Atlanta, yes, the ATL, guess who hit the stage? Jay-Z. And so a lot of folks are now stating that, hey, what gives? Apparently, Beyonce doesn't have any love or as much love for the DMV as she does for the ATL. What say you about this?
I mean, look, you can't necessarily say that because it probably had to do more so with Jay-Z's calendar and what he can and can't do obligation-wise. You know, a lot of times everybody has surprise guests. I know it kind of sucks for everybody in D.C. because they didn't get to see Jay-Z, but I mean, I think it's probably more so just a schedule obligation, I would think.
Okay, now I'm playing devil's advocate here. He was at the show. At least I saw several pictures of him in the stadium during the D.C. show. So, you know, it's not that big of a deal just to peruse on down to the stage right there, grab a microphone, and, well, let's say do a song or two. I'm a little upset about that as well, Lindsay.
Well, in that case, if he's there, then yeah, y'all need to put your anger on TikTok. I don't know. Because if he was there, I don't even know what to say about that.
Well, you know, in all fairness, I get it. I mean, it's her tour, it's her show, and whenever he does perform, it's really a treat. And so perhaps they have a special love for Atlanta. Doesn't mean that they don't have love for D.C., but it is what it is. At least we got a chance to see her.
Yeah, and at least you get to see the clips on, I know it's not the same, but you're seeing the clips on the internet, so it's kind of like you're there, kind of.
Hey, let's move on to perhaps, is there love in the air? In this case, we're talking about NBA player Klay Thompson. Well, is he hooking up with Megan Thee Stallion? Maybe so. He dropped this photo on his page showing Thee Stallion facing him with her noticeably figure in her big curly fro. The guard with a cryptic caption reading, "Sweet bells, sun with a palm tree and coconuts." It's my first time reading this, Lindsay. More than 100,000 fans liked the pic in less than 40 minutes. What are you thinking about this? Are they hooking up?
I mean, absolutely. I think that, you know, men tend, not all men, but some men like to brag. And if you read some of the comments of some of the NBA players and what they were saying, it was almost like he was showing off a little bit. So I think that's what I think they're definitely hooking up. And I think he was just trying to, you know, show off and say, hey, she's here for me kind of thing.
Yeah. You know what the funny part is? If I happen to be him, I would be showing off how good I could shoot the three-pointer in this case.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, get the job done first. Okay?
Yeah. Well, apparently he's doing so in more than one ways than we know of, perhaps. So congratulations going out to them if that's what's happening. Hey, it's their world. We'll end with this, Lindsay, and that is 3 moguls. I'm pretty sure you've seen this. Strike a pose in their new Skims wear. Kris Jenner, Gayle King, and Oprah Winfrey taking a pic in their Skims swimsuit cover-ups. The matriarch of the Kardashian-Jenner clan gifted the media moguls the new apparel from her daughter, Kim Kardashian's line. You liking this?
I mean, yeah, here's the thing. I don't have this particular brand of Skims, but Skims is such a good brand and women love it. So I understand why they wear it because it just feels so good on. And they look good in it. They just do. So,
okay, yet again, I got to ask because I'm not really familiar with this at all. Is it really good or is it because it's done by Kim Kardashian?
No, I mean, I think Kim Kardashian just puts her name on it. No, the brand of clothing, it's really good. It sucks you. As a woman, we always look for clothes that suck you in and make you look good in every angle. And that's what the fabric does. That's why I love Skims so much. Not just because Kim Kardashian does it, but I mean, the fabric. And I used to kind of be a hater until I bought my first shirt and I was like, oh, I get it now. And I want all the things from Skims now.
Well, in that case, Skims is good, but Lindsay is great. And we truly appreciate you joining us right here for a little Celebrity Dish. Always good to see you. Hey, real quick before I let you go, you working on anything?
I am. So I'm going to be traveling around for the month of August. So you're going to see me in different locations when I zoom in. And also, by the way, I just want to add this. the new Clips album that dropped on Friday represents Virginia so amazing and resurrected hip hop, and I just wanted to state that. So go VA.
And that's coming
two up,
from
two down, baby.
one of the biggest country fans on the planet. I absolutely love that. Life with Lindsay.
Yeah, but I grew up in Virginia though, and
That
I
you
grew
did.
up listening to the Clips, so
That you
I was
did.
so ecstatic about this new album.
All right, Lindsay, gotta run. We'll talk soon. Life with Lindsay joining us for a little celebrity dish right here on the Live Zone. We'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Vernon Miles from FFX now joining us live in studio. That's rare.
I am so happy to be here. Every time, it's so cool. You guys can't see it, but there's like a command desk back here. It's incredible. I love it. High tech.
Hey, you can be my hype man anytime. He got a new job there, Vernon. So we're obviously talking about some of the amazing things that are happening in the amazing county of Fairfax County. In this case, we're kicking it off with no better story than Peppa Pig. Yes, it's an experience and more coming to Tyson's Corner Center. Do tell.
I think it's great. This is a thing. It's called Camp. They run little like kids programs every couple of months, and like the last one was Encanto themed. This one is Peppa Pig, or I guess I should say Pippa Pig because it talks with the British accent. I haven't watched it myself. That's just what I see online. But yeah, it's a thing where kids can come in. They have like a whole little experience there. They throw like a tea party and stuff like that. I think it's cool because this is like a Tyson's Mall. It's very adult oriented. But if you've got kids, that's a nice place to take them. And I think malls like this need more places like that.
I absolutely agree. Right about this time of the year, we were spending a lot of it at King's Dominion. Well, guess what? You don't have to go that far now. Just head on down to Tyson's Corner and hang out there and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think this is great. I think you need more places in a mall like this where everybody can gather.
Are we going to find you there?
Probably not for a little while. I don't have kids yet, so when they do, though, we'll be sure to check it out.
I'll join you when you do. Let's move on to Fairfax home prices. Really plateauing, if you will, as, well, let's say buyers hold back. This is really interesting to me, Vernon.
Yeah, so they're selling at about $369 per square foot, which I don't know a lot about housing prices.
Right.
I'm not like a housing expert, but this is, from what I understand, pretty steady from previous years. And that's generally rare. You see the housing prices usually go up year after year. You have in other parts around the area, but in Fairfax and Arlington, they've both either stagnated or gone down over the last year.
Really? Gone down?
Yeah, that's in Arlington it went down, which is kind of shocking.
Wow.
Which, you know, there's a lot of people that are kind of concerned about what that means for the housing market. A lot of people like me that don't own a house yet, they're kind of excited about that, she's saying. But yeah, no, it's a fascinating thing to be watching right now, for sure.
To my understanding, I thought we were experiencing a housing shortage, but perhaps that's not necessarily the case in that part of town. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're building new housing, but the thing is, with all the market turmoil and everything going on in the region right now, I think there's a lot of people that are kind of uncertain about that, and people are holding off on buying houses, and that kind of has a ripple effect on the market.
Yeah, you want to see someone emotional? Look at someone that's trying to buy a home. It is a roller coaster.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll finish with this, and you know I love these polls, Vernon. In this case, we're talking about food, but not just any food. Yes, the best steakhouse in Fairfax County.
Oh yeah, this was we've run other polls where it's been pretty close one way or the other, but this one is actually one of those. We've had some of the previous ones, it's been just one have carried it away, but in this one, it's been very close. There's a lot of steakhouses in the area.
Okay.
I think Capitol Grill was one of the ones that was up there too.
I love that place.
There's one in Tyson's that was like really high on that list. I'm not a steakhouse person, got to admit. Haven't been to any of these. But no, people are very heated about this. People have a lot of feelings on their favorite steakhouse.
So have we discovered which one took the top spot as yet?
Yes, the top one, drum roll please, is... Longer drum roll. Is Randy's Prime Steak and Seafood. That's been the number one so far. Yeah, that's in Tyson's.
Okay, because I'm in Tyson's a lot. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's a little off the beaten path. I remember it's just south of that main road that runs through Tyson's.
Okay.
It's kind of tucked away in a corner, but apparently the best steak and seafood. I don't know about seafood. People argued about that in the comments. People said Eddie V's, I think, was one.
I agree with that, yeah.
Okay, that's what they said.
And they have great steak there, too.
That's people in the comments were on your side with that. They were like,
Yeah.
it wasn't listed in the poll, and they were mad about it.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to check that place out maybe this weekend. I'm only allowed to have steak, according to the doctor, once a month. So that's where I'll have it this month.
If you can only have it once a month, that's the place to go.
Vernon Miles with all things Fairfax on FFX now. Obviously, you're going to get a chance to check him out in, let's say, about 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
He's joining The Take this afternoon. And guess who else is on the show with you? Intern John. He's coming up next right here on the Live Zone. Thank you, Vernon. We'll be right back.
It's so cool back here.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. As promised, live in person, in studio. Yes, he is here. All bow down. The one and only Intern John from Hot 99.5. Always good to see you,
What's up, baby? Good to see you, man.
You good?
Yeah, man. Living.
All right, cool. I asked him right before we hopped on air. I said, hey, obviously you're a co-owner of Hyde there in Clarendon. I said, how was it over the weekend?
We had the watch party for Love Island, and that was the craziest thing. I started 2 episodes towards the end, so I have no idea what's going on, but everybody else did. They were cheering like it was a football game. I was cheering too. I was like, I don't know what we're cheering for, but go Love, you know?
You got to put the island part on it too.
Absolutely. Yeah, there it is.
All right, we call this our Monday Talkers. Yes, some of the stories that you folks are discussing at home. In this case, we'll kick it off with something that I think you and I will both agree on, John, and that is the dread we feel on Monday is real, and it's more damaging than perhaps you actually knew. According to a newly released study, well, doctors now say that we have a 23% higher stress level on Mondays, and guess what, John? Even when you retire, if you happen to think about Mondays after you retired, you're still stressed out.
What's retirement? I drove by a retirement community yesterday. It said 55 and up. I'm like, where? 55? I'm stressed. This morning, I woke up at 1 o'clock thinking I overslept.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God. And I was like, no, I still have an hour left.
Oh, yeah, my gosh. At 1?
Oh,
what
yeah.
time do you get up?
2:40.
Holy, I thought I got up early. Holy smokes, dude.
It's not great.
Are you stressed?
Yeah. Absolutely. All the time.
You know, I actually get this as well. Not only Mondays, but for me, Sunday. It's the buildup of having to get up to go to work on Monday.
Oh, absolutely. And then did I forget something? I still have to do like adult stuff, like pay bills.
Yeah.
That mortgage was due today. That was exciting.
Don't forget, you got to catch up on Love Island.
31 episodes later, that's just not going to happen. No.
Oh, bottom line, yeah, a lot of us are stressed, and so we fully get it. If you happen to be stressed at home, you're not the only one. You know what else a lot of folks are doing as well, John? They're taking, let's say, their suitcase into the airport, as you should.
Yeah.
Guess where else they're taking it? Into the bathroom. And guess what we discovered as of today? Your wheels on your suitcase are 58 times dirtier than a public toilet seat. Here's the issue, John. A lot of times I take that suitcase we're looking at right there and I put it right smack dab on top of my bed.
No.
Yeah.
Guy. You?
Yeah, me.
That's like a huge test when you first go on a trip with somebody. Is do they have TSA pre-check? Do they put their suitcase on the bed? Those are for as clean cut as you are, you dirty boy.
I won't do it anymore. Shame on me.
Yeah, golly.
But I could see folks actually not knowing this like me. I can't be the only one. And okay, perhaps you don't put it on the bed, but did you know it was 58 times dirtier?
Well, they say women's purses too. If you go in the bathroom and put the purse on the ground, how much like that gets too. I'm like, wow, that's why I hold mine. Just in case. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Oh gosh, but I think about the last time I flew, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and yeah, I remember I brought my suitcase into the bathroom and then into the stall because I don't want anyone stealing it while I'm handling my business. And then I was thinking about it. I grabbed it again before I washed my hands. So I have a lot of work to do, John.
But Guy, we all know you fly private. Guy Lambert there. This man flies private. He's got a butler trying to sound like a common person.
Coming from a guy that owns a restaurant.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
Intern John joining us right here on the Live Zone. Folks, can get a chance to check out Hot 99.5?
Yes, every morning, 6 to 10, so I can feed my dogs, and Hyde Social in Clarendon, so I can feed my dogs.
But right now, you can check them out. Coming up in about 9 minutes right here on Fox 5. It's called The Take. You'll see him and, of course, Vernon Miles coming up next right here. All right. Truly appreciate you, my friend.
Always, baby.
We'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So nice we had to do it twice. In this case, bringing back producer Chris with some of the sizzling topics. We were touching on Superman earlier. That's kind of weird to say that. Touching on Superman, talking about Superman. How about that?
About Superman. You said you were going to go see it.
I think I'm going to see the 3 o'clock show today.
They're going to get some of your money. They got a lot of people's money this weekend. Like we mentioned, $122 million in its debut weekend, and that is significant because that already tops the debut weekend for the last solo Superman movie. That was back in 2013 with Henry Cavill, the Man of Steel. It also beats the total box office run for 6 out of the last 10 DC movies, DC studio movies. So there's a new DC studio, but the previous incarnation, we're talking everything from Shazam to Blue Beetle to Wonder Woman 1984, they ended their entire box office run with less than this movie made in its first weekend. And we mentioned the sigh of relief for director James Gunn for Warner Brothers because they were banking on this movie. They had huge hopes for it because it is the first chapter in what is going to hopefully be for them a 10-year project of introducing new characters, new movies through TV shows, animation, and box office blockbusters. So they had a lot riding on this. They really wanted it to succeed, and so far it looks like things are off to a good start for this new look DC Studios. We talked a little last week about how DC has really fumbled the bag, for lack of a better phrase, to Marvel over the last decade and a half. So this is huge for them. The most recent Marvel movie, Thunderbolts, earned just around, I want to say, $84 million in its debut weekend. So that was on the low side for Marvel. It'll face its first major test next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the one after that when Fantastic Four drops. This weekend, it'll face some new competition, though, from the rebooted I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise and Rihanna and Smurfs.
It comes out this week, right?
They both come out this weekend. So that'll be, it didn't really, besides Jurassic World Rebirth, which has already been out for a few weeks, it didn't really have any other major competition at the box office.
So you heard me make mention I'm going to see it in about an hour without telling me too much and very quickly. Your take on it, was it good? Is it worth seeing?
I enjoyed it very, very much. Like I said, I grew up on the comic books, and this is the most comic book movie I've ever seen, I can honestly say. So the previous iteration, thanks to movies like The Dark Knight, was really kind of set in this world where, imagine it's the real world and Superman just happened to be in it. This is set in a world of comic books.
Got it. All right, I'll give you my take tomorrow. All right. 2 minutes left, and in this case, I want to make sure we talk about all things baseball.
Yeah, let's go from an American hero to America's pastime because it is the All-Star break for Major League Baseball. Gets started, the action tonight with the home run derby, and we do have some DC representation down in Atlanta because James Wood will be one of the players competing for that batting title. I always get nervous with the home run derby because guys put their all on the line for that title, and rarely do they come back in the second half with as much ammunition as they had going into it. So sending positive vibes to all the players. Tomorrow night, it's the actual All-Star game. This is taking place at Truist Park down in Atlanta. 2 players from the Nats picked for the National League All-Star team. In addition to James Wood, we also have pitcher Mackenzie Gore. They are both backups. The big thing to pay attention to, though, going into this game is they are using, for the first time on the major league level, that automated strike system. That is what is being colloquially called robot umpires. There will be a physical umpire behind home plate, but the balls and strikes will be decided by this robotic program. Players can challenge. They have to do the challenge. Only players can challenge, though. It can't come from the manager. It can't come from the dugout. It has to be the pitcher or the batter. And if you don't win your challenge,
is it like
you
football?
Lose it. Exactly.
You lose
have 2. If it's a successful challenge, you keep them. If it's not, then you lose one of them. You have to tap your hat or your helmet or your hat to signal a challenge from this program. So it's been tested in the minors. This will be the first time we see it on the major league level. So all of that action on Fox tomorrow night, of course. You can catch it right here on Fox.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Midsummer Classic. I mean, it is something I look forward to every year, whether I'm kind of following baseball
Yeah.
or not. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
you and
It's
me
a
both.
tradition.
I saw a promo on Fox earlier, right before we started the show, with Ludacris.
Yeah.
And with
Welcome to
somebody else.
Atlanta, where
Yeah.
the players play.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is going to
They
be
have
good.
nailed it with the commercials this year, the promos.
Good stuff.
Looking forward to it.
Producer Chris with all things sizzling right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can watch Chris, myself, and of course can't forget about Emmy each and every Monday through Friday from 12 to 2. We'll see you tomorrow. The Take coming up next.